Well, that is a gorgeous rendition of that song, and also a great example of why you've had a successful career as a studio guitarist, because playing exactly what a song needs, no more, no less, is deceptively difficult. Amateur lead guitarists tend to view solos as opportunities to show off, usually with little regard for what's happening beneath that solo. So getting the feel of a song and contributing something melodic and appropriate is a rare skill, which you obviously possess, so it doesn't surprise me that you've been in high demand through the years.
Been very lucky that way, and it was really evident to me right away that when you're playing guitar on a record, you are accompanying the most important thing, which is the vocal, and that's what you have to highlight all the time. And I realized my ears would lead me into the world of counterpoint to that lead vocal, and fortunately, a lot of people liked what I would do when they heard me doing that. And, it's really been my calling card, basically.
Yeah, I would say that was quite an understatement. A few people kind of liked what you did a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, given his tragic demise, you never got a chance to work with Buddy Holly, but you did get to work with another iconic act from the 50s. That would be Phil and Don, the Everly Brothers. How did you get that gig?
It was an incredible situation. I had begun being a studio musician in town, working sessions, and I got a call from a really nice guy. His name was Arnold Rosenthal. He was a bass player who I had met along the way, and he called me and just said, I want you to come over to my place and talk to you about some sessions I got coming up. I said, okay, fine. Went over, and as I walked in, he goes, oh, and I wanted to tell you, the Everly Brothers are looking for a guitar player. And I just went, that's it. I said, that's my gig, man. Where? When? Because I know every song. I know every vocal part. I know every guitar part, every tune. When, where, what do I do?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I'm going to give you this guy's number. His name is Sandy Zevon. And give him a call. They're auditioning guys down at SIR, and he'll set you up. I went, okay. Called Sandy Zevon. Spoke to him briefly and arranged a time to go down there. And I got there, and I'm looking around, and I don't know who's who. And I'm still bearded at that time, too. Mm-hmm. And it was a hot summer day. I was just wearing like an undershirt and my clogs and my big old beard. And everyone I'm looking at, I go, are you Sandy? And he goes, no, I'm the drummer. I'm auditioning, too. I went, oh, okay. Are you Sandy? He goes, no, I'm Bob Carnegie. I'm the bass player. I've been with the Everly Brothers for years. Okay. All of a sudden, the door opens, and in comes this guy with this Panama hat on and this seersucker jacket. And I'm going, what the hell is this? And I'm thinking he must be management or something. Hi, I'm Sandy Zevon. Really? Oh, okay. Nice to meet you. I'm Waddy. And we started. I said, okay, well, here we go on the audition part of life. And Bob, I was replacing a guy named Bob Warford, who was a great guitar player, and he was a guy who used a B-bender. Clarence White used one. It's like, it has this little pulley in it, so it's like a steel guitar on the B string. It pulls that string a step up and down. And guys got really good at it. Clarence White was amazing at it, and Bob Warford was really good at it, and I had never heard anything like that in my life. But so we get there, and Warren goes, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to play the song, and then you'll play it. They play it, then I play it. And the next song comes up, they play it. Meanwhile, this guy did something on the guitar with that B-bender, and I went, excuse me, man, but what the hell are you doing? What is that? What are you doing, man? He goes, oh, I got this B-bender thing. I said, oh, I see, you're cheating. Okay, got it, fine. And because I had developed this little phony, what I call my phony steel guitar playing. That was a lot of the gigs I was doing. I would use a volume pedal, and I'd plug right into the board, just have them put some reverb on it, and I'd use my Les Paul with a Bigsby on it and play real pretty steel stuff. Sounded like a pedal steel. So they did a couple of songs, and they did it, I did it, they did it, I did it. And I'm going, okay, come on. Then they got to the song Walk Right Back. Gorgeous tune. And they play it, and Warren is playing it wrong on the piano. He's playing piano. He's the band leader, and he's not voicing the chords correctly. So I'm thinking, I know this guy doesn't like me already, and this is really not going to go over well. but I got to tell him. So they finish it. Now he goes, all right, now it's your turn. I said, okay, I'll do it, but you're playing it wrong. He goes, what? I'm the band leader. I said, that may be, but you're still playing it wrong. It goes like this, and I played it, and Bob, the bass player who'd been with the Everlys for years, goes, hey, he's right. That's how it's supposed to go. So we did that when Warren was really grumbling at that point. And we did a few more songs, and finally Warren goes, well, look, I guess you got the gig. I think you probably got the gig, but you're going to have to shave that beard off. And I went, what? I said, if the Everly Brothers tell me to shave my beard off, I'd be happy to. But you telling me to shave my beard off, why? It just didn't make any sense to me, and I wasn't going for it. So Warren and I had this rub right away. And the Everlys weren't at the audition. I met the Everlys at the first gig, which was at Knott's Berry Farm. And I was so nervous. I idolized them so much. And I was frightened to death, And Don Everly said something to me before the show, and I just kind of, I felt like Jackie Gleason in The Honeymooners, couldn't talk. But we got on amazingly well.
So Sandy Zevon was Warren Zevon.
Sandy Zevon was Warren, yeah. And we did the Knott's Berry Farm gig, and 2 days later we went to Amsterdam. We were in Europe. I've never been anywhere in my life except New York, around the East Coast, and now I lived in L.A., and now I'm in Amsterdam. It was mind-blowing to me. And we got on so great, and they had told me, someone in management said, now listen, don't you ever try to get the Everly Brothers together off stage, Don't you try to mingle with them. I went, what? Me? What are you talking about? I said, I can't even believe I'm here. So I ain't going to be, channeling anybody's social behavior. So all we did every night, Warren and I would play music all night long. We'd get together and be out of our minds, but we'd play music all night long. And as soon as Don and Phil got wind of it, they both started showing up in the room. And I'm telling you, Dan, the thrill and joy of sitting in a hotel room and hearing the Everly Brothers sitting on your bed singing a song together in your face was just the most mesmerizing thing I'd ever been through. And it went on every night.
Yeah.
That's what we did. As soon as we'd get off stage, we'd pick someone's room, and we'd go there, and we'd just break out the booze and break out the weed or whatever, and just play all night long.
Is it true that Phil Everly is the one who came up with the title Werewolves of London?
Very true. Absolutely true. Yeah, he called Warren and said, I got a song title for you guys. You guys should write a song called Werewolves of London. And we did the next day.
That's amazing. Well, in 1978, along with Jackson Browne, you co-produced Warren Zevon's Excitable Boy album that song comes from. You're credited with writing the opening verse, which goes, I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand walking through the streets of Soho in the rain. He was looking for the place called Lee Ho Fook's. Gonna get a big dish of beef chow mein. So I'll take lyrics I never would have thought of in a million years for 1,000, please, Alex. That's pretty surreal. So what was the inspiration for those lines?
The inspiration was I had just come back from being in London and had gone to this restaurant called Lee Ho Fook.
Okay.
So when Warren told me what was up for the day, it was great because he said, Philip called me last night, and Phil said, I got this title, you guys should write a song called Werewolves of London. And I said, Werewolves of London? And I was in a hurry. I had to get into town to do this session for somebody. But I stopped by to see Warren and our friend Roy Marinell, who was the third writer on the song. Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, my friend Roy had this guitar lick sitting around for over a year that we had tried to put in so many different songs, and it just never sat anywhere,
Yeah.
So I said, Werewolves of London? Oh. I said, my first thing out of my mouth was, you mean like, Werewolves of London? Warren goes, yeah, just like that. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, well, that's easy, man. Roy, and I have to use my favorite adjective here, but I looked at Roy and went, play that fucking lick. Mm-hmm. That lick that didn't fit anywhere is the da-da, da-da, da, 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 da. The whole basis of the song is that lick of Roy's.
Right.
And then I just spit out that verse. I said, you mean like I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand walking down the streets of Soho in the rain? And Warren was just going, yeah. That's great. And then I put the AU and Werewolves of London on it. And
Yeah, so the thing that I would have never connected was werewolves and Chinese food. You know,
yeah, well, London, it was just a reference to London.
Yeah, it's interesting how things combine that way. Now, so you're having trouble getting a solid rhythm track. You know, a few different players took a crack at it, but the guys who ended up doing it for you, I honestly never would have imagined doing any session work, given their standing in the industry at the time. So was that
Right.
a case of calling in a personal favor?
Well, it was, we knew them because of Stevie and Lindsay, and, I knew those guys. And I really do believe my friend Jorge Calderon was the one who, after we tried every band in town, we assembled every group of studio players you could think of to play this damn song. And it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel... Warren and I didn't believe it. We just didn't believe it. There was a few times where Jackson said, that's good. That's a really good take on it. And we would just go, no, it's just not it. It's just not... It's got to sound serious. The track has to sound... It can't sound light and comical at all. It has to sound hard and serious.
Yeah.
And we've been, we were running out of options. I tried every combination of guys, and finally Jorge, I think, was the one who said, "What about Mick Fleetwood and John McVie?" I went, "Oh my God, those guys could lay this down."
Yeah.
And so I called them, and Mick was so flattered. It was like this mutual admiration society going on. He goes, "You want us to come play with you?" We went, "Huh? What, are you kidding?" Yeah. He goes, "Oh, we're so honored." I went, "Honored? What? Just get over here."
Right.
So they came over, and we proceeded to play all night, literally all night. And that's what we were kind of doing at the time anyway. But we did. The funny thing was, we did a take. The next take we did, Jackson and I looked, on the track was Warren, me, John, and Mick. And Jackson was in the booth through the glass. And after we did the second take, Jackson and I looked at each other and went, "That was pretty good."
Yeah.
And we said, Mick said, "Nah, let's keep going, man, keep going." So now it's like, 4 or 5 in the morning, and like take 60 is rolling around.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I think we're done. And Mick goes, "We're never done, Waddy," like that. And I went, "Oh, really?" So we did another take, and I looked at Jackson, and I went, "Jackson, take 2 was pretty good, wasn't it?" He goes, "Yeah, you want to hear it?" I went, "Yeah, let's hear that, let me hear that." And we came in and listened to it. I went, "Mick, we're done." That's it. That's the take.
Yeah, so I'm guessing the other 58 takes that came after that you didn't use was a case of Mick Fleetwood and John McVie just either enjoying playing with you guys or, knowing their name was going to be associated and want to make sure it wanted to be perfect. But clearly they were looking at it differently than you guys. So it ended up being Mick Fleetwood on drums, John McVie on bass, yourself on guitar, and, of course, Warren Zevon on piano and vocals. Yeah, one of the biggest hits of the 70s. So you guys, with partial credit going to an unlikely source from the 50s, Phil Everly. A lot of people probably don't know that part.
No, they don't, and we were always so grateful.
Oh, yeah. Well, so while you have this information fresh in our head, let's pause and listen to that song.
Okay.
So here come the Werewolves of London.
Saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand, walking through the streets of Soho in the rain. He was looking for the place called Lee Ho Fook's, gonna get a big dish of beef chow mein. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. Ahoo, werewolves kitchen door. You better not let him in. Little old lady got mutilated late last night. Werewolves of London again. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo, ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. The hairy-handed gent who ran amok in Kent. Lately he's been overheard in Mayfair. You better stay away from him. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. I'd like to meet his tailor. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. I saw Lon Chaney walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw Lon Chaney Jr. walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. His hair was perfect.
So I'm curious to know the circumstances which led you over to the other side of the glass, as they call it. You know, most studio players never make that leap to producer. Was it something you always aspired to? Was it something that evolved naturally, or was it something that was kind of forced on you?
Well, it wasn't forced on me. I'm trying to think if that was. I had produced something on the Cowsills when we all first came to California. I produced a side on them, and then produced another song, a song that Judy Pulver and I wrote called "Time Has Come." So I produced a couple of things, and but the way that came about was Jackson called me and said he wanted me to co-produce the next Warren record. I met Jackson doing Warren's first record. Warren and Jackson were very close, but I didn't know him at all. And when we did Warren's first record, well, you know, not actually his first record, because he did a record with Bones Howell prior to that, but the record that Jackson produced, he called me. I was in England on tour with Linda, and it's funny because I got asked to do an interview with an English interviewer, a magazine over there, and I got a little too candid, and the guy asked me what I thought of Jackson's production on the record, and I, overconfidently thinking, oh, no one's ever going to read this, said, well, I think Jackson had his hands a little too full, quite honestly, and it was, Warren is a hard guy to deal with because he was so out of his mind and drunk and tough. He was very tough, and he had almost bit off more than he could chew, and it was a lot of stuff going on at Jackson, so he had a hard time doing it. So I walk home. I get home, and my phone is ringing. I'm walking in the house, phone's ringing. I pick it up. It's Jackson. He's never called me before. And I went, Jackson. She goes, Waddy, it's Jackson. I went, Jackson? Whoa, hey. How you doing, man? What's up? He goes, I'm fine. He says, listen, man, I read your interview. I went, you what? He said, you Hamina, back to the Hamina thing.
Yeah.
You what? Yeah, I read the interview you did in England, the one where you said I had my hands too full and I didn't know what I was doing. Wow. Oh, you did, huh? He goes, yeah, and you're absolutely right.
Oh.
That's why I'm calling you. I want you to co-produce the next record with me. I went, what? I said, you don't even know me. He goes, oh, yeah? After what you said about me, I know you a lot better than I know anyone else. He goes, and I know where I stand with you. And he says, and I'll tell you this, I know where I stand with Warren, and he will not listen to me now. And he says, and it's going to happen to you, too. After this album, he won't listen to you either, which is exactly what happened.
Wow.
But,
so Jackson Browne appreciated your honesty, but he kind of brought you into the world of producing to sort of help him deal with the problem.
Yeah, to deal with Warren.
Wow.
You know? And also, but also, you know, my ear, I could arrange Warren's tunes. He and I had this terrific relationship where he would write a song, I could hear it as a record.
Well, it's funny, on the day you met him, you told him he was playing a piano part wrong. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Cowsills. Susan Cowsill has been on the show before, and as a result of that, many of our listeners have seen the excellent documentary our good friend Luis Palanker made about them, which is called Family Band. You were interviewed for the film, and most of your comments that made it into the movie, anyways, involved the intense atmosphere in the Cowsill household due to the abusive nature of their father, Bud. Ironically, the last straw between Bill, the oldest Cowsill, and his father involved Bud insulting not Bill, but you. So
let me tell you something. That moment, I said to Louise, I said, and to Bob Cowsill, who called me about wanting me to do it, I said, I will only do it if I can really talk about your miserable father.
Wow.
I will not take part in this unless I can be truthful about it.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't use a lot of what I said, but even with that, what I did wind up saying, and there was, but and Tommy James had a great bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he was on the same page as you. Yeah.
Yeah, but that tore me up when I heard Bill say that in the movie about me. I didn't know that had happened. I just had to stop the thing, and I just sat there crying for about 5 minutes. And it broke my heart so much to hear Billy speak that lovingly about me and know that I was the straw that broke the back.
Not only that, but I was going to ask you what you thought about the Star Trek analogy he used, where he was Scotty, you were the Enterprise, and his dad was the Klingon.
Well, I can see what he's talking about. Bill and I spent a lot of time together. I mean, I spent a lot of time with the boys, all of them, but Billy and I would sit up at night and talk about rock and roll and music.
Well, for people who haven't seen the movie recently, basically what he's saying is they were in public in a bar or restaurant, and his dad started bad-mouthing you, and Bill was like, I'm not having that. You could say what you want about me, I'm used to it, but Waddy's my mentor, my hero, and so I guess they got physical, and then the bad side for Bud was he got dragged out by state troopers, which was satisfying for Bill, but the downside was he was sort of ejected from the band and the family, and obviously at that point, relationships had deteriorated beyond the point of
Billy he wanted out anyway.
Yeah, but it wasn't that way in the beginning. So how did you and the Cowsills first cross paths?
I had a band in New York, and we were a rock and roll band, 4-piece band, organ, guitar, bass, drums, doing what you did, playing Beatles tunes and playing stuff. In New York, the deal then was, like the Rascals were doing, when they would do covers, they would slow things down. There was this New York way of doing stuff. It was these big arrangements and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyway, we were playing in a little dive one night, and a guy named Paul Schnittman just happened to be there watching our band, and after our set, he came up to me and said, hi, I blah, 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 I'm this and that, but I am part owner in a club in Newport, Rhode Island, and would you guys want to come up there and play? And we just went, wow, are you kidding? Anywhere but in the city, Newport, Rhode Island, the folk festival place? Yeah, sure. So we went up to Rhode Island and basically started taking over there because we were a good, strong band and had a lot of good stuff, and it was working. People were coming to this club called Dorian's and seeing us, and all of a sudden, one day, and let me preface this, during our stay there, there was this miserable drunk would come in every now and then at night, and I'd have him thrown out all the time, and that was Bud. That was their father.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it yet. I didn't know who this obnoxious, big-mouth asshole was, but I'd always have him thrown out of the club. And then one night somebody said, have you seen the Cowsills yet? And that's a word that I said, what is the hell? What's a cowsill?
Right.
What's that? Is that a name? What is that? They said they're a band. They're these brothers. I went, yeah, what? No, I've never even heard of them. They played at a place called the MK. It was this like hotel that had a bar in it. So we went up there and saw these babies, 4-piece band doing the best Beatles you've ever heard. Great vocals. They were like John and Barry, I think, were 12 and 13 maybe, or 11 and 12. And Bill and Bob were 15, 16, or 15 and 17. They were incredible.
Yeah.
And then when it was told to me that that miserable bastard I kept having thrown out of the club was their father, I went, oh, no, this can't be. And it kept going on, and then eventually he wanted to manage me and manage my band, and I'm going, get away from me, man. You make me sick. And finally, I said to him, look, he says, my kids are going to make it. I was driving him home again one night in his car because he couldn't drive. He was so screwed up. And he said, my kids are going to make it, damn it, Waddy, you're blowing it here, you're blowing it. I said, I ain't blowing anything. I said, look, you get $1 million together, bud, then you come talk to me, okay? Until then, leave me alone. And so from Newport, my band, we went up to Vermont, and we were up there in Sugarbush, Vermont ski area, playing. And we were up there in the dead of winter, and it was getting bleak. And we didn't have any other outlets, really, no offers. We're trying to go somewhere with this band, but we weren't getting anywhere. And I got a call from David Ray, who was the club owner of the club we played in, who used to help me throw Bud out all the time. And he says, Woody, he called me Woody with this Rhode Island accent. He said, I'm working for Bud now. I went, you're what? And he goes, Woody, he's got a lot of money now. He's got a lot of money, and the kids are about to make it. And he wants to see you. He wants to see you. And Bud got on the phone. He says, we're coming up there to see you. He said, you are? He said, yeah, we're driving up to Vermont tomorrow. So they drove up to Vermont. It was a snowstorm, as usual. Came into the club, sat there. We did our set. And I went to the table, said hello, and he goes, all right, I got the $1 million now. You want to come with me now?
Did he really have $1 million?
Yep. The dairy company had the milk. They did this milk advertising campaign.
Oh, yeah, right. I remember
$1 million. He said, I got the $1 million now. You going to come with me? I went, yep. Get me out of here. Get me out of Vermont, man.
Right.
So we moved down to New York and lived with them. They had these number of apartments in this building on 8th Avenue. And so we lived with them for a couple of, I don't know, maybe 2 months or so. And then he said, I'm thinking of moving my operation to Los Angeles. Do you want to go? I went, absolutely, please, let's go. And that's how we all came out here.
So why do you think he was so keyed on you? Was it your singing, your guitar playing, your knowledge of, why was he so insistent that you be the producer?
Well, he didn't want me as the producer at first. Then he wanted me to produce it, but he just liked, my band, like I said, my band was clicking.
I get you.
It was really good. And then I broke that band up, and I put another band together, and this band was very good singers, a lot of good tunes, and we were writing good originals and stuff.
I see.
And so Bud saw it, and he's, I want you guys to come up.
Got it.
So I went with him.
When I first heard the Cowsills' music, one of the first things I thought of was Mamas and the Papas because of the combination of male and female voices. Also the Beach Boys with the multi-part harmonies over a rock beat, like Indian Lake or something. But in the documentary, I think it's Bob Cowsill who says he believes his father's vision of the band was more of a cross between the Bee Gees and the Von Trapp family singers, which was his way of referencing the additions of their mother and their younger sister to the band. I'm going to play a Cowsills recording right now that definitely has a Brothers Gibb quality to it. This song dates back to 1956 when it was initially recorded by Wanda Jackson. You did a version of it with Linda Ronstadt in the 70s, but first you did it with the Cowsills in the 60s. This is a live version of the song from the benefit concert you did, they did, and you participated in to help out with Bill's medical expenses, maybe around 2004. At the beginning of the track, we'll hear your name being mentioned on stage. So is there anything you want to say about either version of the song before we listen to it?
This has to be Silver Threads you're talking about, right?
It has silver threads and golden needles.
Yeah. Well, it was, like I said, I came out of these, when in New York, out of that school I was in, the Rascals and these big arrangements, it led me into making even bigger arrangements and making like these, trying to do these orchestral type arrangements of things. And we were doing Silver Threads and Golden Needles in my band, and I had come up with that whole arrangement, and the kids always loved it. So
Wow.
that's how it came about. And then Bud asked me to produce it for them.
Yeah, and one thing I confirmed this with Susan, because the vocal harmonies in this live version, particularly there's one little breakdown in it, it sounds so good, I told her on this podcast tonight, I'm going to credit you guys in this age of auto-tune and, post-production tampering and fiddling and cheating. I said, was there any sweetening done on that, or is that what came off the stage? She says, no way, that's us.
There was no such thing as sweetening then.
Well, and this isn't then. This is the live version from 2004.
Oh, the live version, yeah.
When they had the chance to do it. So what we're all going to hear is how they sound. I mean, they're so great at harmonizing.
They were such great singers.
Yeah.
I mean, they are.
Yeah.
Terrific singers. And they did a version of a song called, a song that my partner Judy Pulver wrote, and I think I helped her finish it, a song called Heather Says. Mm-hmm. That's this very strange song. And the Cowsills made this astoundingly clear, beautiful record of it. It's a bizarre tune, mm-hmm. But if you don't know it, I'll even send it to you. You know Susan, you've heard it.
Yeah, well, do you know that she redid it with Vicki Peterson?
I do. I know that. But if you've never heard the Cowsills version, the Cowsills version is insane.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
It's pristinely beautiful.
Yeah, I want to hear it. We'll get together on that. But in the meantime, from the Billy Cowsill benefit concert, here are the Cowsills with special guest Waddy Wachtel performing Silver Threads and Golden Needles.